Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather, and on this channel we like to walk a very fine line between a shopping addicted makeup monster and a responsible adult with a makeup hobby. I really enjoy eyeshadows, singles, duochromes, multichromes, palettes, blush, bronzer, highlight, lip gloss, basically everything except for pressed glitter. And today I am so excited. I have a mountain, I believe there are 18 here, of my rainbow palettes, and we're going to be ranking all of my rainbow palettes. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick with me. We're getting into it right now. So I originally got this idea from Amy Loves Makeup here on YouTube. She has tons and tons of videos, mostly focuses on indie products, and I was watching a video on like ranking her favorite rainbow palettes because I was trying to decide if I wanted to pick up the Colourpop Fade into Hue. And at the time I was like, wow, I really don't have any rainbow palettes. Like, I need this palette. So I purchased it, or I ordered it, and it took like 2 weeks to get here, and in the meantime I found this video and I was like, I should do a video like that. And I'm like, let me go see if there's any other palettes in my collection besides the Fade into Hue that would be considered rainbow palettes, and let's go check them out. And I had a lot more rainbow palettes than I thought. So I'm classifying things that are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple as rainbow palettes. I think there may be one or two palettes in here where it doesn't quite meet every single color, might be like one color missing, especially this last one, but for the most part they are all of those colors at least somewhere in the palette, at least one shade in the palette. So let's start with my least favorite and work up to my most favorite. Alright, so the first one you can kind of see here floating at the top is, ooh, let's go this way and let's not pull my hair. The first one is the Alexis Stone and Revolution palettes. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Alexis Stone. I actually purchased this before he started acting like a jackass. So I didn't know what I was purchasing, but I thought this was kind of a cool concept. You've got kind of you're kind of missing the oranges, but I figured like the reds and yellows together, they kind of do float into orange, and this kind of gets into an orange territory, like a smoky orange, so I was like close enough. I like the concept of this palette, but I don't think the colors from the light to the deepest shades are different enough to really show up on the eye. Like, I don't think you needed 4 rows, maybe 2 or 3, but then this bottom row should be even deeper and the top row should be even lighter. So I feel like it kind of misses the mark for me. Like, I get what they were trying to do, but it didn't quite go where it was trying to go. It does come with this, well, you have to buy it separately, but there is also a transformation palette, and these are like iridescent duochrome topper type shades, which I do think is kind of a cool addition. And then the two palettes together magnetize, which I think is pretty cool. So all in all, I fell for like the gimmickiness of the palettes, but I don't think for how I use palettes, I don't think this was the best rainbow option in my collection. So it definitely fell to the very bottom. All right, the next rainbow palette is the Color Kit from Yaasss Glitters and Makeupbyabiiiiii. There's like 6 eyes. And they did this little rainbow collection. So you have 2 rows of mattes and 1 row of shimmers. The quality is fine, but it's just fine. So I hesitate to put it any higher, because even though I think they're pretty colors, it's just like, it's kind of a forgettable palette in terms of the other things I have in my collection. This palette was originally, I think, almost $40, and I ended up getting it on sale a lot better of a price. So I'm glad I did not pay full price for this, because I think it would have been kind of disappointed if I paid full price. Next up is the Profusion Neon palette, and this one is just a cute little one of their $5 10-pan palettes, and I do think it is really nice, but again, I run into the issue where these shades all start to look the same on the lids, and so I don't really get enough variety to like make this feel like I'm getting a full rainbow. It kind of just feels like you've got a handful of one shade here, you've got kind of one shade here, you've got kind of one shade here, and you've got a purple. So it kind of feels like a 4-pan rather than a 10-pan. So for me, it kind of falls to the bottom for that reason. The next one to talk about is the Juvias Zulu palette, and I pulled this one out because it truly does meet the criteria of like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, but I never reach for this to be able to like make a rainbow look. Like, I don't think of rainbow and reach for this, you know what I mean? I'm not even sure I've done more than like 1 or 2 looks with this palette, and that's a shame because it's a truly beautiful palette. I think I need to pull this out and do some more looks with it, but I think when I look at it, sometimes I just get a little bit overwhelmed, and then I just kind of reach for something else that I feel works a little easier for me, so it floats to the bottom for that reason. Alright, the next one, this is the Lavie palette. And this is from BH Cosmetics. It was a collaboration palette, and I really like this palette. I love that these nude shades are kind of like rosy toned, so they are really, really pretty on the eyes, and then you've got kind of your rainbow down here. These rainbow colors are actually very pigmented, so for being, you know, an inexpensive BH palette, I think this was really well done, and I do enjoy using this one. The next one is the NYX Ultimate Shadow Palette, and it looks like this. They re-released this for Pride Month this year, and I think they do that like every year. And it's not a bad palette. I do like how, you know, much variety you have in such a small, like this is physically very small, so you could take this traveling if you wanted to or needed to. But the formula is not my favorite. I feel like the newer palettes that I have from NYX have a better formula than this. I don't know if it's the same or different, but I just feel like the formula in this one is not as good as the other ones that I've tried, and so I don't lean on this one as much when I'm looking for rainbow. But funny enough, I've kept it in my collection all these years, which is like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, because I'm like, well, I don't have any other rainbow palettes. Heather. Alright. Icy Fantasy from Morphe. I am not a big Morphe person, you guys know that, but I was really drawn to this palette, and unfortunately it suckered me in. It's a pastel palette, and really what suckered me in was the blue and the purple. Like, those are pretty vibrant pastels, you know what I mean? So that really, really, really drew me in. Wipe my fingers off there. There's one pressed glitter in here. I don't mess around with that. And I really like these shimmery shades down here. They look so pretty. You do have some kind of like duochromatic shades here. This one, this one, this one. Even this one is sort of like an iridescent duochrome. This one. I really like it. I don't know. I think the more I look at it, the more I'm like, maybe I should have ranked it higher. I haven't used it in ages, but I do really like this palette, and I think, you know, my palettes tend not to show a lot of wear and tear because I use them very gently, and I also tend to use them a couple of times and then go do something else and come back to them later, so they don't get like hammered over and over each day. And so to see like as much wear in this palette as I do, I'm like, wow, that's actually a good amount of wear for me. Alright, the next one, this is actually from a Try Beauty box, and this is the LA Splash Cosmetics Classic Horror palette, and it looks like this. And it is kind of a grungy, smoky rainbow palette, which I think is really cool because it's, number one, it's all mattes, and it's like fun mattes that you don't see in other palettes. Like, you usually don't see these like grungy greens or like kind of mustardy shades like this. So I find the tone choice for each of the colors very interesting. I have a few palettes that I would classify as rainbow palettes but tend to be more grungy like this, and I just really enjoy those color stories. So this one, you know, ranked a little bit lower because I don't reach for it as much, but now that I look at it, I'm like, maybe I need to reach for it some more. I have a feeling I'm going to be feeling that about a lot of these palettes here. So the next one, this is where things started to get dicey, because from here on out, I kept switching the order around, moving things around, moving things up, moving things down, and could not get myself settled. So from here on up, just know that all of these palettes are really, really great palettes, and you're not going to be steered wrong with any of them. This is the Essence Never Give Up on Your Daydream palette. This is an older palette, but I found it at TJ Maxx for like $4 or $5, and I thought, why not? Because Tammy Tenuka just released a palette very similar to this, and it was like $50-something before you had it shipped to the United States, because they are a Russian-based company, I believe. So I was like, that's too much. And I'm sure her pigments are of a much higher quality than this Essence palette, so I don't think they're exact dupes. But I did think that this was really pretty, and as you can see, as it like catches the light, you do get like some really pretty iridescent shades in here. And I just like this peachy shade, oh my gosh. When I put that on the first time, I was like, wow, I like this a lot. Let me see, can I, no, that was a terrible place to put it. But anyway, For an inner corner highlighting palette, this is like absolutely perfect. So I really do like it. I ranked it a little bit lower though because it's not going to be like a full look in a palette. This is going to be like a companion palette to your other stuff. So that's why I ranked it a little lower. But if you do find it at like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, wherever, for a couple bucks, I would consider picking it up because the formula is very soft and buttery. It's very nice. The next one to talk about is the Raw Beauty Kristi At Foresight palette. And you may not think about this as a rainbow palette, but when you open it up, you do see you've got some like red tones here. You've got these orangey yellow tones here. You've got greens and blues here. This is a purple. So you do have the whole rainbow, but again, it's like grunge rainbow. So it's not the exact like bright, vibrant rainbow that you typically expect. I really like this palette though. I love that there's only two metallics, and I think those two metallics go with the entire rest of the color story. I think Kristi did a really good job on this palette. Really, really enjoy this one. I ranked it a little lower because I'm not always reaching for grungy stuff, but this is a really good palette. Okay, next, this is the ABH Norvina Volume 2 palette. And you might be saying, but this is a blue palette. And you're right, for the most part, it's a blue palette. But it does have pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple in it. So I did go ahead and add it to my list of things to rank here. And I think the pigments in this are fantastic. Like they pack a punch, okay? So I really, really like this. I'm really strongly considering picking up the Volume 5 palette that just came out, the purple one, because it looks so pretty. It looks so pretty. I want it so much. So it's probably coming home with me at some point, but I wanted to include this one because even though it's weighted much more so in like the greens and blues, I do think that it's technically a rainbow palette, and I do really enjoy using it, so I wanted a chance to mention it. Alright, the next one to talk about is the Colourpop Issue 3 Make a Statement palette. And I actually, oh my gosh, I really loved using this. I got this at TJ Maxx too, and I picked it up because it had this really cool, funky color story that was like kind of tropical, but also kind of like grungy tropical. I was so drawn to these navy shades here that I had to pick the palette up, and it was like $6 or $7, and I think this originally retails for like $25–30. I don't know that I would pay $25 or $30 for this palette, but $6 or $7, I feel like I got a steal on this palette because it is really, really nice to use. I love these two columns. Like, you could literally just make it this, and I would be so happy because this is like a gorgeous color story all by itself. But I do love that you have some pops of other colors there in case you want to use them. Very nice palette. Alright. Next up is my Glamlite Ice Cream Dream palette, and I ranked this a little bit higher because Glamlite's formula is like not to be trifled with. Their formula is fantastic. Their metallic shades are just so like soft and buttery and like reflective. Like you just don't get pans like that. You don't get reflection like that just from any random place. Like you get that from like nice quality eyeshadows. So I definitely wanted to rank this a little bit higher because of how nice a quality this is. It's certainly not the highest though because of the fact that it's a pastel rainbow palette, and so it's not going to be as vibrant, and typically what I go for is very vibrant. So ranked a little lower for that reason. But I love the little ice cream sprinkles on it. Like, oh, so cute. So cute. Alright, and this is where it got like really challenging. Like starting from the Cara Beauty palette up, I was flipping and reordering and tossing and turning everything around. So literally from Cara Beauty up, you could basically just say everything is equal, but for the sake of a ranking video, because I do enjoy me some ranking videos, we're going to keep it moving. The next one, this is where I put Fade into Hue. So I did pick this up from Colourpop during their sale, and I'm happy I got it for 30% off because I think it was around $22, and I think that's a fair price for this. I think the original price was like $34, and I don't know that I would be happy paying $34 for this. What drew me in the most was the shades, the purple shades here, because they're cool toned purples, and so often when you get palettes that have purples in them, they're not cool toned purples. They're warm toned purples or like cranberry shades, and I didn't want that. So when I saw this, I was like, wow, the purple monochromatic palettes that they have are actually very either pastel or very like red toned, warm toned leaning. So that's what really drew me in, and then it's just like a bonus to have all these other shades here. I do really like it. I ranked it a little bit lower though because of all the pressed glitters. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pressed glitters in this palette, and I don't use them. I don't like them. So yeah, I'm happy that Colourpop seems to be slowing down with that because I'm just tired of that, but I do like the rest of the palette. I think it's pretty cool. Alright, and the next one, so that was number 5. So we are getting, this is top 4 now, okay? The next one up is the Glamlite Cake palette. Let me pop it out of its cute little oven. I keep it in the oven because I think it's adorable, and it's a little bit easier to store because then it's like a rectangle instead of this like scalloped kind of thing. But this is what the palette looks like. This is probably the closest thing I have in my collection to a neon palette, and like these greens and blues are so vibrant, so pretty, that I really enjoy playing with this palette for this side. I do like the shades on this side, like this carrot cake or carrot and guava are so pretty, like shimmers wise. Again, Glamlite, like you just can't mess around with them. This is why I picked up the Michaela palette too, because the shimmers are just so bonkers good that like you just can't argue with that. So I really enjoy using this palette. It's the closest thing I have to a neon, so it ranks number 4. The number 3 palette is the Violet Voss Sugar Crystals palette. This was one of the first like rainbow palettes I picked up, and I really like this. I got it on sale, of course, from Sephora VIB sale maybe a year or 2 ago. And what I like about this is not only do you have this like matte rainbow row here, but then you have sort of this duochrome row here, and then sort of an iridescent topper row here. So you really could do like full-on monochromatic looks just going down, or you could do something kind of going diagonal through the palette. You know, you have a lot of options that I think would make really pretty looks. I do have a video with this palette. I have a video with a couple of these palettes actually, so I'll try to include the videos that I do have in the cards so that you can see the videos that I've done on these palettes. But this one I really do enjoy, and I think this is such a great concept that I think a lot of people, they missed out on, they overlooked it, or they didn't see the full potential of this palette. I really, really like this one. I almost hesitate to give you my number 2 palette because it caused some controversy. My number 2 palette caused a fair amount of controversy, and it is the Nomad Cosmetics Shanghai palette. Now, they got a lot of heat for this, for like cultural appropriation, which I can understand where the concern came from, but at the same time I see other brands like Juvias just made their little French Riviera palette. Are the people from Juvias from there? Probably not. BH Cosmetics has a whole travel series where they have Hanging in Hawaii, Trendy in Tokyo. They've got a Puerto Rico palette that just came out, a Paris palette that just came out. So I feel like other brands don't get that same heat, so to attack an indie brand for it when nobody else is getting attacked for it kind of just seemed a little unfair, but what do I know? So I'm just glad I have the palette because I actually really like the palette. It opens up 2 ways, and I actually dug a chunk out of one of the colors, so that kind of blue chunks. But this side over here is the mattes, and I don't think they really contribute to the rainbow concept. This side over here is what contributes to the rainbow concept. So you have a matte black and a metallic white over here, but these are all metallics, and they are so pretty. Like you can see the reflectiveness just in the pans. Oh, it's so pretty. And I did a video actually, and did a look with this palette, and then right as I was getting ready to edit and post it, the brand announced that they were pulling the palette. They weren't going to be selling it anymore. They were donating all the money that they had made to like charities and whatever. And so I didn't feel right like posting the video, but I was so bummed because I loved the look that I did in that video. But basically I did like a really pretty rainbow look, and Nomad has great quality. Like they just do. So I tend to want to pick up their palettes because the quality is so good, even if the color story is not my like 100% color story, but this one called to me because of those rainbow shimmers on that side. So I do really enjoy it. That's why it ranks so high. And then the last palette that is my number 1 rainbow palette in my collection, and it's number 1 for a reason, and that is my Lethal Cosmetics palette. Now this is a custom palette that I put together. which is very expensive, by the way. Be careful on the palette creator thing. And this was the color story I put together, and I was like, wow, this looks so pretty. I have to have this. And then I realized it was like $160, and I was like, I do not have to have this. So I waited until they had just an epic sale, and then I went ahead and pulled the trigger, and I picked up this and a couple of the gel liners, and I'm very happy with my purchase. The mattes are so, this one got a little eaten in transit, I don't know. USPS, they must need a snack, it's possible. But the mattes are so nice. Their shimmers are ridiculous. Like, they're soft, they're buttery, they're just pretty. Like, they're just pretty. So I feel like for the price that I paid, I'm just so happy that I love this so much. But I really love kind of these deep kind of navy blues. I love that you have more of the aqua teal blues. You definitely go into some of these more limey greens. You've got some warmer tones, and then you've got these more cool tone purples. This is my happy place. And there's the swatches. Oh gosh. So pretty. So pretty. Alright, and so that is my #1 rainbow palette in my collection. You guys are going to have to let me know in a comment down below, what is your favorite rainbow palette in your collection? I'm very, very curious. Because certainly, you know, I have my favorites, but I think it's easy for us to kind of overlook sometimes when color stories are so similar, and so we end up with like duplicates in our collection. But I'm so happy to have these palettes in my collection. I'm really enjoying using them. If I didn't enjoy them, I would definitely declutter them, but I'm having a good time with them. So let me know in a comment down below what your favorite rainbow palette is, or what you've been enjoying recently as a rainbow palette. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I'm going to catch you in my next video. Bye!